The first warning came as a low tremor through the hull, subtle enough that most species wouldn't have noticed. Humans, however, had a peculiar instinct for impending disaster. Commander Rhea Calder's head snapped up before the alarms even activated. A second tremor rippled through Orbital Research Station Helion 5, sharper this time, as though something massive scraped against spacetime itself. Then the sirens erupted, shrill, discordant, unmistakably catastrophic. Rhea dropped her datapad and sprinted to the nearest console. "Show me external feeds." The viewport screens flickered. A roiling mass of violet energy twisted outside the station like a storm made of fractured reality. Lightning forked in silence across the void, connecting nothing to nothing. The wormhole had always been unstable, but this was a rupture. "Calder!" shouted Technician Mori from the adjacent panel. "The wormhole's oscillations have tripled in under a minute." Another screen sputtered alive, displaying the energy surge in brutal detail. The vortex looked like it was trying to inhale the stars. Rhea's stomach tightened. "That's not a fluctuation. That's a cascade failure." Mori swallowed. "As in, end of station failure?" "End of region failure," she corrected. "And probably end of my career if the Council finds out we missed early indicators." The deck lurched. Panels blinked red. Atmosphere regulators hissed. A cluster of trainees nearby clung to their seats, wide-eyed. The alien officers among them already trembled. Helion 5 personnel had experienced minor wormhole storms before, but this magnitude was unheard of. Before Rhea could analyze further, the central comms panel chimed with the piercing tone reserved for high-ranking officials. The hologram snapped into existence, Archstrategos Veilkir. Tall. Silver-skinned. Eyes like polished ice. His presence carried the weight of centuries of military doctrine. "Commander Calder," he said, voice flat, "you are to immediately withdraw all human personnel from critical systems." Rhea blinked. "With respect, Strategos, we don't have the luxury for protocol. We're staring at an active collapse. That is precisely why humans must step back." His expression didn't shift. "Your species' tendencies increase risk during crises." "You've got to be kidding me," she thought. "Our tendencies are called problem-solving. Your problem-solving often involves explosions," he countered. Mori muttered under his breath. "One time. One duct tape engine test. They never let it go." Rhea ignored him. "Strategos, Helion 5 doesn't have equipment rated for this kind of distortion. But Terran Science Corps does. We're trained for unpredictable environments." "That is exactly my concern," Veilkir replied. "Unpredictability begets chaos. Chaos is unacceptable." Another quake rattled the platform. Several consoles sparked. A containment field dropped for half a second before reinitializing. The wormhole outside writhed with growing violence. Rhea leaned closer to the hologram. "If we don't act, this storm will tear the station apart and open a permanent rift. You know what that means." For the first time, a flicker of unease passed through the Strategos' eyes. "The Council is evaluating options. We don't have time for evaluations." Rhea pulled up the last diagnostic. The numbers were horrifying, dimensional shear approaching catastrophic threshold. "If we had a stabilizer array." "You do not," Veilkir cut in. "And you will not improvise one." Her jaw clenched. Humans improvised everything, and most of the time it worked. The Council feared that more than failure, they feared success by accident. Rhea glanced at Mori. He gave a subtle nod. They both knew what had to be done. She returned her attention to Veilkir. "With respect, Strategos, Helion 5 needs someone who understands the human-built systems on this station." "That's me. Commander Calder," he said slowly. "I am en route to Helion 5. Upon arrival, I expect full compliance. Until then, do nothing." The hologram vanished. The deck plates vibrated again, harder this time. A klaxon wailed as a structural report streamed across the main display. A docking ring had fractured. Rhea swore under her breath. "All right. Council politics later. Survival now." She initiated emergency lockdown protocols. Mori, reroute auxiliary power to the shielding grid and stabilize the thermal regulators. On it. But Calder, this is getting ugly. Ugly is fine, she said. Dead is not. The lights dimmed briefly as power redirected. The gravitational stabilizers flickered, making the room sway. Through the viewport, the wormhole expanded like a cosmic bruise, spreading tendrils of distorted space that curled toward the station. Trainees to shelters, she ordered. Senior staff with me. A small group assembled, 2 humans, 1 Erix, 1 Vaden, and a trembling Skrilly who looked ready to molt from stress. Rhea addressed them quickly. Listen. This isn't a standard anomaly. It's the beginning of a collapse event. I need each of you focused. The Erix scientist clicked nervously. Commander, our sensors cannot establish a stable reading. Reality is fluctuating. That should not be possible. Rhea tapped the console. It's possible when a wormhole's anchor point destabilizes. And something out there is tearing the anchor out of alignment. Can it be repaired? Asked the Vaden officer. With the right tools, maybe, Rhea said. But we have one advantage. Humans predicted this scenario decades ago. The group stared. Mori frowned. Predicted? You mean the Terran Rift simulations? Exactly, she said. We designed a prototype device to counteract catastrophic wormhole shear. The flux anchor. Commander, the Skrilly stammered. That device was never tested. Which is why it's perfect for this situation, she replied. Several aliens paled, quite a feat for species with scales or fur. Rhea checked the remaining time before structural breach. 16 minutes? Too little for diplomacy. Enough for action. She activated a secure channel and pulled up the schematics. The anchor's in storage bay Theta. We install it in a shuttle, get close enough to project the stabilizing field, and buy ourselves time. Mori whispered. Strategos Veil Kir is going to vaporize us. No, she said calmly. He'll lecture us. Then he'll file paperwork. But only if we're still alive. Another violent jolt threw everyone off balance. Sparks showered from the overhead fixtures. A support beam groaned. Outside, a spiral of energy lashed the station, peeling part of the hull from one of the service wings. The Skrilly screamed. The Vaden officer staggered but regained composure. Even the Erix scientist's frills flattened in terror. Rhea steadied herself. Move! We've got one shot. As the team followed her into the corridor, the station lights strobed red. Metal shuddered. The wormhole's glow cast shifting shadows along the walls. They reached the lift. The doors struggled to close, grinding against distorted magnetic fields. Calder, Mori said quietly. Do you ever get scared? Every time, she answered. But fear's just the brain asking for a plan. And if the plan fails? She smirked. Then we adapt. The lift descended with a jolt. A hollow boom echoed through the shaft as another section of the station buckled. Rhea felt the timeline shrinking, reality unraveling around them. She thought of Veil Kir's order, the Council's fear, humanity's reputation. Fine. Let them be afraid. As the doors slid open at the storage deck, a massive tremor hit, strong enough to buck everyone forward. Rhea caught herself on a railing and pointed to the sealed bay. Get it open! Mori initiated the unlock sequence. Hydraulic locks hissed. The heavy doors parted. Inside, under dim emergency lights, rested a strange and angular device wrapped in metallic shielding. The flux anchor. Rhea stepped forward, eyes narrowed with determination. All right, she said. Let's save this station before Veil Kir gets here. The storage bay lights flickered as the flux anchor's containment clamps disengaged with a metallic snap. The device hovered slightly above its cradle, humming with restrained power. Its angular plates reflected the crimson emergency strobes, giving it an almost predatory gleam. Rhea motioned for the team to gather around. We have 12 minutes before the next projected shear. Load it into Shuttle 3. The Eric scientist folded all four arms anxiously. Commander, the anchor's energy signature is already destabilizing. Activating it inside a shuttle may overload both systems. Which is why we're not activating it inside the shuttle, she said. We're just delivering it to the right position. The Skreely swallowed hard. Commander, I must state, respectfully, that this violates 18 Council safety directives, 5 human treaties, and basic survival instincts. Rhea gestured to the trembling walls. The wormhole doesn't care about safety directives. Together, the team unlocked the anchor's gravlift platform. The device drifted forward, heavier than it appeared, radiating a pressure that made their skin prickle. Every few seconds the deck quivered. The station was unraveling piece by piece. Mori pushed the platform toward the corridor. If Vale Kir shows up early, we're dead. Technically, Rhea said, we'd be detained, not dead. Commander, with respect, you haven't seen the last memo he sent regarding human experimentation. No one reads those memos, she replied. The corridor stretched ahead, lights dim, alarm beacons pulsing. Far off, another structural beam groaned like a wounded creature. They hurried toward the hangar lift, guiding the anchor with steady but nervous hands. Halfway there, the station's intercom crackled. Vale Kir's clipped voice filled the corridor. Commander Calder, this is Archstrategos Vale Kir. I have arrived in orbit. You are ordered to cease all unsanctioned activity. Rhea didn't slow. Fantastic timing. If you do not comply, the intercom continued, I will authorize a full lockdown of Hellion 5. The Skreely squeaked. He'll trap us here. Not if we get this shuttle airborne first, Rhea said. They reached the lift. The doors slid open sluggishly, protesting against the station's failing magnetic stabilizers. The team guided the anchor inside. As the lift ascended, the lights flickered again. Static crackled overhead. Rhea gripped the rail, steadying herself against another violent jolt. The Eric scientist stared at her. Commander, why do humans remain calm during imminent annihilation? We're not calm, she said. We just prioritize. What is your priority right now? Preventing total spatial implosion. Secondary priority? Rhea allowed a thin smile. Making sure Vale Kir doesn't drag us into a 3-hour lecture. The lift doors opened into the vast hangar. Shuttles were docked in orderly rows, though several bays now showed cracks and warped plating from the wormhole's pull. Emergency lights carved sharp shadows across the space. Shuttle 3 sat nearest to them. Rhea sprinted toward it. Mori, open the rear hatch. He tapped his wrist console. The shuttle responded with a rising hum, and the hatch descended. They maneuvered the anchor inside. The device locked into the shuttle's cargo clamps with magnetic hooks. Rhea checked the readings, stable enough to move, volatile enough to warn her this was a one-way mission. Prep for departure, she said. But before anyone could climb aboard, the hangar bay doors slammed shut. Every team member froze. A voice boomed from the overhead comm. Commander Calder, this operation ends now. Vale Kir's hologram materialized a few meters away, crisp and imposing despite the flickering projectors. His gaze swept over the scene, the shuttle, the loaded anchor, the humans, and tightened with controlled fury. Rhea stepped forward. Strategos, with all due respect, we don't have time for a political intervention. This is not political, he replied. This is survival. Your actions endanger everyone aboard. Doing nothing endangers everyone. You are not authorized to deploy experimental human weapons. It's not a weapon, she said sharply. It's a stabilizer. He ignored her correction. Stand down. Rhea straightened. No. The hangar groaned as the wormhole storm intensified. A thunderous vibration rolled through the deck, causing several crew members to stumble. Outside the viewing ports, space twisted like liquid in a hurricane. Vale Kir took a measured step toward her. Calder, every recorded incident involving human improvisation ends with unpredictable consequences. Which is precisely why we're good at this, she said. His jaw twitched. I cannot allow this. You and your team are hereby confined to quarters. Rhea gestured around them. Confine us after we survive. Right now, we're out of time. Vale Kir glanced toward the sealed bay doors. The situation is contained. The deck beneath them lurched violently. The entire hangar shuddered. A massive crack split across the floor, sending sparks flying. Shuttle 12 snapped free of its docking clamp and slid several meters before halting against the barrier. Screams echoed through the hangar. Rhea met Vale Kir's eyes. That looked contained to you. He hesitated. A second quake hit, this one stronger. The overhead supports groaned loudly. A cascade of metal clanged as an entire lighting array tore loose and crashed against the far wall. Vale Kir stiffened, momentarily stunned. Rhea seized the moment. Shuttle 3 is our only chance. If we reach the coordinates and deploy the anchor, we can stabilize the distortion before it consumes the station. Or you detonate the shuttle, Vale Kir countered. Then we lose a shuttle, not 400 lives. Silence stretched. The Strategos' eyes narrowed in a cold calculation she recognized. The math favored her argument. But admitting it would undermine decades of cautionary doctrine about humans. Rhea turned to her team. Board now. They sprinted up the ramp. Vale Kir lifted a hand as if to stop them, then dropped it, torn between orders and necessity. Inside the shuttle, Rhea strapped into the pilot's seat. Maury secured himself beside her, while the aliens took stations in the back. The cockpit lit up as the systems powered online. Calder, Vale Kir said through the comm. I am not authorizing this. You don't need to, she answered. Reality already did. She ignited the engines. The shuttle thrummed with contained force. The bay doors remained sealed. Maury shot her a worried glance. He's not opening them. Rhea tightened her grip on the controls. He will. Vale Kir's voice echoed again. Commander, do not make me activate total lockdown. Strategos, she said quietly. Look outside. A fresh surge of wormhole energy hit the station, an immense wave of violet lightning that lit the entire hangar. The shockwave rattled every beam, every panel, every breath of air inside. If the doors didn't open, the hangar would tear apart. For a long, tense second, nothing happened. Then, the massive doors began to rise. Rhea exhaled. Good choice. The shuttle lifted off the deck and angled toward the opening. Outside, the vortex churned like a wounded giant, expanding with an unnatural pulse. Maury tapped controls rapidly. Trajectory set. Then let's do this, Rhea said. They shot forward into the storm. Vale Kir's final words crackled through the comm as the shuttle disappeared into the swirling chaos. Commander Calder, do not fail. The Dauntless dropped out of the Alcubierre lane like a stone skipping out of a hurricane. Plasma vents hissed. Hull plating screamed. A few things fell off that probably shouldn't have. A few consoles sparked that definitely shouldn't have. But the ship held. Talia wiped grit and sweat from her forehead and exhaled slowly. Status? Ezek's gills fluttered, an anxious tell. We are intact. Mostly. But Commander, that jump was not travel. That was being thrown. Arden unstrapped from the engineering chair he'd grabbed during the descent. That's what happens when you strap a facefold onto a drive system barely rated for third-tier civilian travel, he muttered. We didn't jump, we skipped across physics. Talia smirked. Still better than dying. Arden stared flatly. Debatable. The holographic tactical table flickered on. A deep red sphere pulsed in the center, the quarantined region. Thorn space. The uncharted dark. And on their sensors, a single signal blinked. The Warden's beacon. Signal origin unknown. Signal classification impossible. Talia leaned in. That's him. Ezek tilted his head. We do not know that. The Warden is dead, Arden finished. Yes. We've established the rumor. The myth. The definitive maybe. Talia's eyes locked onto the blinking point. No one else carries that signature. Not pirates. Not rogue fleets. Not a black market science coven. Find the source. Arden tapped keys, expression tightening. It's inside the forbidden cluster. The part no one maps because the mapping drones melt. Can we not melt? Ezek asked hopefully. That depends, Arden answered grimly. On your definition of melting. The ship drifted deeper into Thorn space. Gravity eddies tugged at the hull. Light bent at uncomfortable angles. Shadows behaved like they had opinions. The scanners chirped in complex distress. Arden frowned at a jittering readout. This entire region is violating 3 laws of motion and one of emotional stability. Emotional stability isn't a law, Talia said. Arden pointed at the console. Tell that to the ship's AI. It keeps asking if we're in danger and then answering itself. Ezek's frills wilted. Commander, look! Something enormous appeared in the void. A sphere. Not metal. Not stone. Something else entirely, smooth, seamless, absorbing light like it was drinking it. Surface reflections rippled as though something beneath were breathing. At its center blazed a single red eye. Arden swallowed. What in the name of entropy is that? Talia whispered. The warden's vault. The beacon was coming from inside. A hollow boom reverberated through the ship, a resonance rather than sound. The lights dimmed. The engines groaned. Then a voice, old, mechanical, and irritated, echoed through their calms. Turn back. Talia stiffened. That's his ID code. That's Warden Salas? Ezek's gills froze. He speaks? Rarely, Talia said. And only when something matters. Arden raised the comms gain. Warden Salas, this is the UNS Dauntless. Identify. Turn back, the voice repeated. Sharper. Strained. I cannot hold it much longer. Talia exchanged a look with Arden. That's not a threat, she murmured. That's a warning. The vault sphere opened. Not with a mechanical grind, but with a silent unfurling of space itself. The interior wasn't empty. It was filled with something that should not have been. A mass of threads, dark, fluid, shifting, writhing like a living storm. It pulsed with a cold intelligence. A presence. Ezek clutched his chest. It is aware of us. No, Arden whispered. It's recognizing us. From beneath the swirling mass, a figure emerged. Humanoid. Tall. Armor cracked and scorched. The helmet bore the unmistakable crest of the Warden Corps. Commander Salas? Alive only in the technical sense. His armor systems flickered. Entire sections were fused to his body. His movements were slow, heavy, like he was fighting gravity itself. Talia's breath hitched. Salas, sir? His visor turned toward her. When he spoke, his voice carried layers, his own, and something beneath. You should not have come. The containment is dying. Arden glanced at the swirling mass. Containment for what? Salas staggered. The dark thread surged upward as if sensing weakness. A breach in dark quantum flow. A consciousness. Hungry. Expanding. I've held it for 31 years. Talia stepped forward. We can help. Salas shook, armor sparking. No. Humans should never touch this. I held the line because I was already dying. But you... The entity shifted. All three felt its attention snap onto Talia like a hook. A whisper slithered through her mind, not words, just intent. Curiosity. Recognition. Opportunity. Talia flinched back. Arden, shields, now! Arden slammed his hand on the console. The Dauntless erupted with barrier fields, 5 overlapping layers. The mass crashed onto the shields. Not like energy. Like a predator. The entire ship groaned. The shields buckled. The deck trembled. As it cried out. It is testing us. No, Arden said through clenched teeth. It's learning us. The entity twisted into shapes not meant for human senses. Fractals of hunger, voids devouring voids, reflections of galaxies collapsing. Talia forced her voice steady. Salas, What does it want? The warden half collapsed against the vault wall. A vessel. A mind that can withstand the paradox. Something resilient. Adaptable. Creative. Reckless. His visor turned toward her. A human. Talia froze. Arden swore. Oh hell no. It can have her. The mass lunged again, this time directly at the bridge window, slamming barrier layers like fists of gravity. Warning klaxons howled. The shields dropped to 22%. Ezek whispered the obvious truth. If the entity escapes, it will not stop at our ship. The vault walls groaned. Cracks of bending space rippled outward like fractures in glass. Salas's voice faltered. I cannot hold it. If it merges, everything falls. Talia clenched her fists. Her voice was quiet, steady, terrifying. What do we do? Salas lifted his head. We finish what I started. Meaning? Arden demanded. His visor flickered, revealing eyes rimmed with exhausted fire. We destroy the vault. The entity shrieked without sound, pure psychic violence. Threads lashed outward, ripping chunks from the vault interior. The ship lurched as gravity inverted, then snapped back. Arden grabbed the controls. We won't survive a full-scale implosion. Salas stepped forward, armor sparking with energy he no longer possessed. Then you must be precise. The vault shook. The sphere began collapsing inward. The entity surged, tendrils clawing at physics itself. The warden pointed at Talia. Commander Vance, humanity has one strength no other species possesses. A tendril speared toward them. Talia raised her sidearm instinctively, useless, symbolic, human, and fired. The shot somehow mattered. The tendril recoiled. Salas finished. When you say hold my beer, reality prepares to lose. The vault groaned with imminent collapse. Talia stepped forward, jaw tight, eyes burning. Then let's make reality nervous. The debris field shimmered like a frozen storm as the Resolute advanced at full burn. Fractured hull plates, melted armor, and drifting chunks of alien dreadnoughts hung in the void, mute testimony to humanity's impossible defiance. What had once been a border sector was now a graveyard lit by the fading glow of ruptured reactors. Captain Mirren stood at the command throne, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The swarm's signatures ahead were thinning, but the core signal, the source mind, the entity coordinating every shard, still pulsed like a malignant heart buried deep within the cluster. Range to the origin node? Mira asked. Lieutenant Hale swallowed. 20,000 clicks. But, sensors say the node is growing. Growing? Mira echoed. 100 meters every few minutes, Hale said. Like it's absorbing something. Colonel Jax Mercer stepped forward, armor still scorched from the last boarding action. Because we're hurting it. Corner a monster, and it starts mutating. Or panicking, Mira said. And I want it terrified. The bridge dimmed as the ship braced for another wave of interference. The shards weren't attacking now, oddly. They were pulling back, forming walls, funnels, and spiraling barriers around the source mind as if scrambling to protect it. Dr. Cassian Lyre's voice crackled over comms from the science deck, excitement laced with dread. Captain, my analysis confirms something. The node is a superorganism, a central brain built from the neural residue of every conquered species. Mira felt her stomach twist. You're telling me that thing is a fusion of stolen minds, Cassian said. Millions. Maybe billions. The bridge fell silent. Then Jax muttered. Well, that's horrifying. Cassian continued. The source mind has one purpose: consume anything unpredictable. Anything that threatens its predictions. Myra's jaw tightened. Us. Yes, Cassian said. Humans. We're too chaotic. Too inventive. Too stupidly brave. It can't model our decision patterns. We're poison to it. Hale straightened. No wonder it focused so much force on Earth. Then let's give it something it can't predict, Mira said. Helm, prepare the final run. The approach. The Resolute accelerated, slicing through the wreckage. Shockwaves rippled across the hull as drone clusters rammed themselves into the ship's shields and disintegrated. A massive structure loomed ahead, an obsidian sphere veined with pulsing crimson fractures. Tendrils of nanoflesh stretched from it, dragging in remnants of destroyed ships like metallic vines feeding a starving beast. The source mind, Hale whispered. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't alive. It was something in between. Something foul. Shard cruisers repositioned to block the Resolute, forming a wall of gleaming silver death. Jax, Mira said calmly. Tell me the device is ready. The colonel smiled grimly. Oh, it's ready. I just hope you're comfortable with cosmic war crimes. After what they did to Europa Station, Mira said, I'll sleep fine. The final gamble. The device, a destabilization torpedo, was the first collaboration between human engineers and the captured shard fragments. A Frankenstein's weapon designed to tear apart the neural frequencies of the source mind by using its own architecture against it. It won't kill it outright, Cashin warned over comms. But it'll break its control over the swarm for several hours. Long enough to end this, Mira said. Shard cruisers charged their beam arrays, forming crackling lines of emerald light. Impact in 15 seconds, Hale shouted. Helm, Mira said softly. Cut engines. The helmsman blinked. What? Cut them, she repeated. The stars lurched as the Resolute drifted, coasting forward on momentum alone. Enemy targeting arrays flickered in confusion. Jack smirked. They were predicting a high-speed assault. They predicted wrong, Mira said. With the engines silent, the beam arrays misfired, overshooting wildly. Fire the torpedo! A spear of white-hot energy burst from beneath the Resolute's hull and streaked into the shard's formation. The cruisers swarmed, trying to intercept, but the torpedo moved unpredictably, zigzagging with erratic thrust bursts. Asking human pilots for inspiration was a questionable but effective choice, Cashin noted. Its pathfinder is literally programmed to panic. A heartbeat later, the torpedo slammed into the source mind's surface. A blinding pulse erupted. The hull of the Resolute rattled as the source mind screamed, a sound transmitted not through space, but through every neural-dependent system. A psychic thunderclap of rage and fear. Direct hit, Hale reported, wincing as he disconnected a sparking console. The shards, they're losing coordination. On the tactical screen, the perfect formations deteriorated instantly. Ships collided. Drones spiraled out of control. Some simply went dark, drifting like lifeless bones. Push forward, Mira said. We're ending this now. Inside the beast. A ragged opening widened on the surface of the source mind. The torpedo had torn a wound through the outer shell, exposing swirling layers of living circuitry. Boarding action, Jack said. My team is on standby. Mira nodded. We're all going. The shuttle touched down inside the wound. Ribbons of metallic tissue curled inward, twitching. The air was thick with static, as if the place breathed electricity. The deeper they went, the more the walls resembled nerves, throbbing with faint pulses of light. Captain, Cashin said through a portable scanner, I'm reading mind echoes. Millions of them. Thoughts trapped like insects in amber. Mira clenched her fists. Let's free them. They reached the core chamber. A vast sphere hung suspended by tendrils, glowing, fractured, writhing. It recognized them immediately. A voice, many voices, shivered through the air. You are anomalies. You do not follow paths. You ruin prediction. You are wrong. Jax lifted his weapon. I get that a lot. Cashin pulled out the disruptor conduit. Once this plugs in, the feedback will wipe the whole system, along with the leftover neural matrix. And us? Mira asked. Depends on how fast we run. Then plug it in. The chamber shook as the circuit connected. Light exploded across the walls. The source mind convulsed, screaming in every language at once. Move! Mira yelled. They sprinted. Tendrils lashed out. Shards of psychic backlash shattered the air like glass. Jax shoved Mira ahead as a tendril sliced past her shoulder. The shuttle bay loomed ahead. The floor buckled. Gravity flickered. Cassian stumbled, dropping to one knee. "Captain, go!" Mira grabbed his arm. "No one gets left behind!" Jax covered them, firing burst after burst until the weapon overheated. The three dove into the shuttle as the chamber collapsed behind them. "Punch it!" Mira shouted. The shuttle erupted from the wound an instant before the source mind ruptured in a planet-sized implosion of light. Aftermath. The Resolute caught the shuttle's signal and reeled them in. All across the sector, shard ships flickered, faltered, and died. Without the source mind, they were nothing but empty shells. Humanity had done the impossible. Hale exhaled in awe. "Captain, the swarm is collapsing everywhere. The invasion, it's over." Mira sank back into the command throne, exhausted but steady. "Send word to the fleet. Earth is safe." Jax grinned. "You realize we just told the galaxy to hold our beer and watch this, right?" Mira allowed herself a thin smile. "If they didn't understand humans before, they will now." Outside the viewport, the dying glow of the source mind flickered like a fading star, its last prediction finally proven wrong. Humanity wasn't just unpredictable. It was unstoppable.